Hello everyone, how you doing? We'll be reading more of Master of Self-Realization by Sri Sadguru Siddharameshwar Maharaj, and we'll continue where we left off. 14. Meditate upon what you hear. Sages like Shuka, Valmiki, and Narada all reach spiritual attainment with self-knowledge. That high status is attainable by listening to spiritual instruction and meditation upon it. One must practice according to what one has heard. Only then is self-knowledge possible. Only one who is not attracted to the objects of the world can gain self-knowledge through listening and meditation. By simply verbally describing a sweet dish, that food does not become prepared. You must prepare it first, and only then can you eat it. Only then does one get the benefit. The study of the self is to remain with an attitude of being in unity with the self, or with one's true nature, Swarupa. No one becomes a sage by just putting on the crimson or saffron-colored clothes of a renunciate. Your mind should accept what it listens to. The mind should be attuned to what it hears. The attention of the mind should be as smooth and constant as the steady flow of oil from one pot to another. In a fine, thin stream. You must read again and again what is written because you do not remember because you do not remember. Period. This forgetfulness is why you do not experience your unity with the self. Everyone builds their house on the wind. They build castles in the air. In the world, everything is taking place because of the word. First, the concept of a tall building is spoken about in so many words, and then the building is erected. Someone who is ignorant becomes wise only through words. If you do not hear the words, how can listening take place? Trying to teach you is like pouring water on a buffalo. All of the water is wasted. That is because your attention is focused on objects and does not loosen its interest from them. If it frees itself, then the job is over, and you have become Brahman. Your being should remain constantly as Brahman. All of the 5 elements are finally mixed in each other. The self, Atman, also dwells in them, but it is aloof. All of the houses are built only out of earth, but their shapes and their owners are different similarly. Although people are many in number, the inner self and all God and the wind are one. However, there is some factor which calls itself as I. That factor is false. It need not be there. If you separate yourself and become proud of that separateness, then you suffer sorrow. Then listening becomes futile because the mind is attracted to sense objects and identifies with thoughts, subtle objects. Attaining the knowledge of Brahman, Brahmavidya, is difficult because our attention is turned towards sense objects. If one has a liking for listening to spiritual teachings, something seems to be missing if one does not get the experience. The mind's disposition changes by continuous good company. There should be constant thinking and meditating day and night on the spiritual instruction that one has received. Talk about it and listen to it. But what is even more important is putting the good advice that one has received into practice. Just the act of merely listening to the teaching is not so important. One must get the actual experience of what is being indicated and feel united with it. If one can do this, he attains all of the spiritual powers, siddhis. What is the meaning of the attainment of spiritual powers? This means that one very naturally gets all the good things and comforts of life. This occurs because he is desireless. All people insist that they should receive something in return for whatever they offer. Do not be swept away by the desire for riches. You must maintain desirelessness, and then you will be of the nature of Brahman. Morning 24-11-1934. 15. There is only one without duality. There is only oneness. There is nothing other than what is this that appears to us as the world. All is God, nothing else. The various ornaments or objects that we perceive are false. The names are not of any consequence. All names and forms are unreal. One and only one Brahman exists. To see means appearance. However, Brahman is pervading all that is seen as the objects of the world. When your state of consciousness becomes such, then the idea of yourself as one entity and me as another entity disappears. The duality of you and me disappears. Conceive of all as Brahman without doing any analyzing or separating. When all is one, do not hold to the concept that I am a separate being. The sun is so brilliant that it does not need a bath. Do you cleanse and wash the fire because it is from the house of a so-called untouchable? The self is eternally shining. If the sense of I does not enter it, it is pure self only. When the sense of me goes, the self remains as brilliantly pure as ever. There is the same consciousness in all. It is the oneness in all things. A drop of seawater is essentially of the nature of the sea, but it does not remain separate from the sea. There is no death in the 5 elements of earth, water, fire, air, and space. Death is related only to desire and the subtle I, which its attributes of thoughts and emotions, living and dying, are applicable only to this separate existence. When you say that a certain person by some name is dead, it is only the concept of that person that separates itself and calls itself by that label which has died. The state of realization is where the sense of the me has ended. This stranger, who calls himself Tom, Dick, or Harry, has wrongly become the owner of the body. Banish him, and then you are Brahman. Bear the brand, I am Brahman. Aha Brahmahama, Aha Brahmasmi. And proceed further without hesitation to the next great meeting. If only one is there, then everything has value. As soon as there are two, there is friction and conflict. Therefore, live in unity as one alone. One who discards completely the sense of you and me is the real son of the Sadguru. Guru Putra. Evening 24-11-1934. 16. Know by speech, mind, and action. One who recognizes Brahman with speech, mind, and in the physical body is my devotee. One should do as he professes. Forget about the body as a body, and consider the body to be Brahman, by having the feeling that the all-pervading God is within everything, thereby making the mind one with Brahman. One feels unified with one's essential being. One then naturally acquires all of the spiritual powers, siddhis. These powers are 18 in number. There are 8 greater siddhis and 10 lesser ones. 8 of these relate to your being, the subtlest in the power of entering into the consciousness of all. In fact, you are already in the hearts of all. To be invisible is to remain unseen in your own being and to relinquish all the tendencies of the mind and the body. King Bharat said, The whole earth is mine, but when I die, I will belong to the earth. This means that because of attachments, one again becomes bound. It is therefore better to surrender everything from the beginning. The object before the mind at the time of death decides what will be the nature of next birth. The desire directs the next progression after death. Do not get involved in the world, even with the good intentions to help others, because as soon as you deviate from your own being, you will fall into the trap. Don't forget your true self. Your own body is sure to fall one day, so why fear its death even today? One who is free from the slavery of the world is the real saint. Recognize that the entire world is perishable. Let it perish today instead of tomorrow. Don't care for it. Don't bother about the world of the 5 elements. Only if you live like this will all of the 8 cities be pleased with you. The nature of the powers of your being is 8-fold. The power to become minute like an atom. 2. Power to become huge. 3. Power to be very light in weight. 4. Power to get whatever is desired. 5. Power to have control upon animate and inanimate things. 6. Power to wield tremendous strength. 7. Power to enjoy any pleasure of the senses as wished. And 8. The power to make anybody do as you wish are the 8 powers. Your life, as it is very petty. However, if you remain in unity with your being, you'll get everything as soon as the will arises in the mind. Those who do not deviate from their being are my true devotees. Therefore, remain so, with all of your mind, body, and speech. Morning 25-11-1934. 17. True renunciation and desirelessness. Should one relinquish the family or not? Even if you perform your daily functions, the sum total of your life is the same. If you are not alert within, what is the use of putting on garlands and applying sandalwood paste, conducting spiritual rituals? There should be inward conviction that the world is illusion. If that is not achieved, what is the use of becoming a renunciate, sannyasi? If you are fully aware that this illusory world is false, and you function in this world with detachment, what is wrong with that? That is really the greatest thing. You may be anywhere at any time, and you remain untainted by the world. It is the case that only if you remain secluded in a room or in the forest, you are a sage, and if you go out, you are not a sage. No, this is not the case. You must be inwardly detached. Even for those who are ready to do this, there is the possibility of delusion. With the utmost care, you must treat the 5 elements with respect, for they will ensnare you. Do not think that the 5 elements are benign. They will create an impression of gentleness on your mind, but do not be deceived by their facade, and put your trust in them. Do not forget that they are only putting on an act of being docile. Even though the field occupied by the 5 elements and the sensory presented by them may be attractive, do not trust in this. These scenes are deceptive. Always remember that they are like ghosts in various disguises. Whatever disguise the ghost may wear, they are still only ghosts. You are not like the ghosts. Illusion, Maya, always tries to make you forget your true nature by adopting various tricks. You must always be on your guard. You may be living in comfort, but be mentally detached. One should remain in a state of desirelessness in one's mind, speech, and actions. Live in Brahman, as Brahman. A man once said to a sage who had realized Brahman, "Sir, I have seen you once." The sage said, "You cannot have seen me. I am not as you see me. I am not as I appear to you. I am quite different. Even if you leave the worldly life and go away in seclusion, what are you going to gain? There is no need for you to do that. Just change your attitude or state of mind. Do not lose the sense that you are Brahmin. When we give a vaccine, we do not need to consider whether the patient is small or big, thin or fat. All should be vaccinated. The appearance of the person makes no difference. In deep sleep, both the king and the pauper are equal. That is called equanimity. To be in the world is painful. Come to the understanding that the world is an illusion. Then you will experience joy, contentment, even in this world appearance. You always were and are the highest joy. One who harbors desire is but a laborer who is always playing the role of an employee. One who has no desire is the owner. Unless desire is despised, one does not become desireless. It was only for the purpose of attaining desirelessness that the sage Shuka took to the forest, while King Yanaka achieved the same while ruling over a kingdom. If you truly want to study, I dare say that it can be done anywhere. There is an easy way. It is really immaterial where you are. Whether in a house or in a forest, you can be leading a spiritual life. You need not run away. The sage, Prahlad, could be in this state of Brahman, even though he was constantly being harassed. If you say that you cannot do spiritual practice, sadhana, while you are living in a family, take it for granted that you are not really interested in true spiritual practice. He who really wants to be spiritual will unfailingly do so, wherever he may be. Evening 25-11-1934. 18. The self naturally contains spiritual powers, siddhis. Just checking the time here. The self-Atman naturally contains the 8 greater spiritual powers or siddhis. So long as an individual jiva is dominated by illusion, maya, the original nature of self remains hidden. When one gives no value to spiritual powers, those siddhis automatically become his servant. When one is desireless, the eightfold nature of the self is essentially the eightfold power. Pearls are given to the one who does not demand them. But if one has demanded things, I think it should be said, he does not even get the necessary thing. One who has become void of any wish gets all of the 8 powers. The 8 powers are identical with my nature. One who is united with me gets these powers automatically. There are 6 energies, or passions, which are desire, anger, greed, pride, jealousy, and hatred. Hunger and thirst are natural for the body. It is necessary to take food and water to remain alive. Happiness and sorrow are the afflictions of the mind. If you get what you want, it is happiness. If you do not get it, it is sorrow. What the mind feels is good, and what it feels is not good. I is a concept that is without location or shape. I am Shiva, Shivoham is a useful concept. There are 6 powers or siddhis that are specifically related to the body. Not to be aware of hunger or thirst is the first power. To know the meaning of Vedanta is real clairaudience, or the capacity to listen to far off sounds, which is the second power. Clairvoyance is the third power. Victory over the mind is the fourth power. Ability to go anywhere is the fifth power. Ability to adopt any form of body is the sixth power. To be able to enter the body of others is the seventh power. Ability to leave the body or die according to one's will is the same power. To be able to see gods is the eighth power. To be successful according to one's wish is the ninth power. And the power by which all people obey your orders is the 10th power. All these powers are related to the mind. There are 5 lesser powers. To know the past and future is the first. Not to be affected by wind and rain is the second. To know what another man is thinking is the 3rd power. To be able to stop wind and fires is the 4th power. And to always be victorious over others, or not to be conquered, is the 5th power. Morning 26-11-1934. 19. The thought of a dream in the dream. The self-Atman, who is birthless and deathless, slept, and in his dream he had a dream. What kind of dream was this? The appearance of the world was the dream, and in this dream he dreamed that he became an individual, jiva. Then the illusion only increased. The appearance of this worldly life as real is a dream. The one who is God became a servant to conceive as real all people such as mother, father, brother, and others, along with the whole world, is the dream. All the beings in the world are reveling in this dream. It is very rare and important that one among all of them should think very far. To have trust in a saint is a very rare thing. Such an aspirant acts in a selfless manner. One who is full of ego will not even throw a piece of bread to a dog. After doing some selfless, charitable deed, there is often the experience of selflessness, or pure intelligence, that arises. It is a great thing to feel respect for the saints. Great is the fruit of the blessings of our forefathers, the saints who have come before. Discrimination, viveka, between the essence and non-essential during this dream life is rare. Wealth is a kind of intoxicant like wine. Because of the merits from the last birth, one turns toward the Guru and is inquisitive about him. This is one who can truly utilize the power of discrimination. Such a person goes to Guru and thinks about what is essence and what is non-essential, and comes to the understanding that I am Brahman. Only then can one realize that the world is illusion and become awake from one dream. He experiences the pure essence of the teaching and understands that the entire world is an illusion and that the Supreme Self, Para, Atman, is the only truth. One then becomes that truth, consciousness and bliss, Sat Chit Ananda, incarnate, and one with Brahman. When you come to know the meaning and when you think about it and say, now I've got the experience and now I am awake, who is this I who has gained experience? When you say that you have experienced something, there is the ego, or I am, aham. The thing that says I or you is nothing. You say that you know, but that is only ego. It is delusion in illusion. For example, you may think that he is, or you are, the same old entity who people call Mr. Smith, but now Mr. Smith has become Brahman. If you decide that the former Mr. Smith was only illusion, and that non-entity has now become reality, then your illusion is not yet dissipated. What is naturally your being is the reality as it is. There is no I there, even in the most subtle form. So long as it is felt in the slightest that there is any need to protect the body, I is not gone. There should be the actual feeling, the experiencing that the entire universe is within you. This is the understanding that all is he and I am he. The silkworm builds its own house, a cocoon, and then dies in it. You are also binding yourself similarly. You consider yourself to be the physical body. This itself is captivity. You have yourself become like the cocoon of the silkworm. Lukewarm water is poured on the cocoon, the worm is killed, and the silk is taken. If you hold on to the feeling that the entire universe and the wind and space that it is contained in is your body, then you are automatically Brahman. There is only Brahman, which is one without a second. He who knows that there is nothing else is himself Brahman. The one whose craving after the objects of the sense is gone, whose sense of I as separate from everything else is gone, and whose pride is gone, is the only one who is truly realized Brahman. Evening 26-11-1934. 20. Spiritual powers are natural in the self. All of the spiritual powers, cities, are of my own nature. The study of the 8 greater cities and the study of myself is the same. Even though the 8 cities are different, they are all of my own nature, the self. When the self is attained, the purpose of life is achieved. Knowledge and power are one. This is the essential nature. Only my devotees attains this. These powers are not achievable for anybody else. Once a challenge was put before the people. Who will pull the king's beard? One wise man said, I will show you. When the king was seated on the throne, his sons who were sitting on his lap pulled at his beard similarly. The 8 cities that are of the nature of the self are attainable by my devotee. The first power is the power of the inner life, or anima. The atom, or anu, is the ultimate smallest particle that is not further divisible. The small dust particles which are in the air are called renu, and the subtlest particle of air is called paramanu. A letter in the alphabet is formed by the continuation of an original point, and then the figure, or line, when increased, becomes the whole letter. Then words follow, and sentences are formed. Unless the anu becomes the renu, a line is not formed. The world has come into being out of the life force. Chaitanya. A shepherd once said to a well-versed scholar that all the Vedas and the 18 mythological epics are in the pocket. This meant that he had realized that he is nothing but an infinitely small atom, and to realize this in the anima, or inner life city, he was experiencing that he was abiding in the heart of all creatures. He was the tiniest of the tiny, and the self of the smallest insect. I am more thin than the thinnest thing in the world, and the purest of the pure. One who realizes this achieves the anima siddhi. All of the physical and subtle bodies are like chariots, and it is God, Sri Ram, who is the self, Atman, that is the charioteer in the chariot. Turn your face towards him and become one with him. When the sense of I and you is gone, only he remains. The individual jiva has the habit of differentiating things. God Shiva likes to be one. When you separate and make distinctions in the mind, you become petty. When you are unified, you become vast. Where there is no me, there is no world, no 5 elements, and the truth is understood that all is one. All is only the self. When one is sure that he is anu, he achieves the anima siddhi. Consider how minute the taste buds are while you taste something sweet on your tongue. It is the self that is aware of even in which roots of hair there is some itching. There is nothing that he does not know. He is that inner consciousness, which is called the self, Atman. When a man has full conviction that the true I is the one who is the innermost dweller of all beings, this itself becomes the great accomplishment, or siddhi. When a warrior has the conviction that he is a brave fighter of noble descent, accordingly, he very naturally exhibits great courage in battle. The very feeling that I am brave makes a man valiant. In order to make illusion disappear, forget all things from the past. Whatever is in the past has to be invited back by us in order to follow us. Otherwise it is gone. The slate is something that is to be written on, and then always wiped clean. Illusion is not in the background, nor is it in the front, or in the future. But it is only in the present. It exists its existence is not real. It is only illusion, a fleeting appearance. Wipe it out from the mind, forget even the mind itself. In illusion there are only 6 principles, the 5 elements in the self, or knowledge. There is nothing else. Do not bother to put forth the effort to think of anything you are saying and thinking about things because they were said sometime in the past. Otherwise, what would be there for you to understand? Nothing. Illusion is strange. If you think about and see everybody as fools or donkeys, then they appear as such. Really, all is only Brahman. Morning 27-11-1934. And therefore, this reading, my friends. Beep. Thank you, and we shall see you next time. Adios.